Are the rumors true, Albus?
I'm afraid so, Professor. The good and the bad.
And the boy?
Good evening, Hogwarts students, wizards, and muggles and squibs? Not scribs. Squibs. Squibs. That's a weird word. Squib.
I mean, Scribs sounds like something that could be,
It's a Scrubs, what are they called?
I don't know.
When it's like a show that starts from another show,
A spinoff?
an off. It's a magical Scrubs spin-off. Scribs.
Scribs. Sure.
Squibs and witchers and wizards and muggles alike, welcome to another already enchanting episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Boy. I am your co-host Trey with my fellow co-host Corey.
Hello, everybody.
And today we have a super duper special topic for you tonight. What is the topic tonight, Corey?
Wizard Rock.
Wizard Rock.
I figured since we were on the topic of musicals for the most part, covering a Harry Potter musical, that we would also talk about a supposedly ongoing subculture of music related to the Harry Potter fandom.
Wizard punk rock.
Yes, but at the same time, no. There's a couple of different genres of music, but I think it's one of the, Harry Potter fandom subcultures that I never really got into.
Yeah, I can't think of any like Harry Potter songs aside from the musicals.
I was going to say, a Harry Potter musical, not quite the same. I don't think when you lump it into Wizard Rock, it would count because it's
Not rock.
It's not rock. But I think that's the closest we ever got. There is, and I tried to remember and look up, but I can't for the life of me. For some reason, I thought it was like Harry Potter and the Magic of Music or the Magic of Music. But it was this guy I came across, back in the day, early 2000s, when this was a thing. He was definitely I don't think he was a wizard rocker, but he definitely came about due to that subculture of fandom. But I can't find the music. I think, and maybe you don't remember, maybe you only remember the Harry Potter musical aspect of our trip to the Wizarding World, but I'm almost positive I had some of his songs burned into a CD as well.
What's a CD?
Well, kids, you joke, but one of the people I work with, I had a conversation about burning CDs, and she had no clue what I was talking about. So,
Work with preschoolers?
no, I work with 20-year-olds because at this point,
Same thing.
but I couldn't find it. But I'm pretty sure it was like Harry Potter and the Magic of Music, or just the Magic of Music, something like that. I'm going to continue to do research, but he is, I think, the only person I ever listened to, and it wasn't a band. It was more like him singing, and I think he was mostly keyboard. I don't know what you would call that, electronic. I'm not too familiar with all the musical terms, but yes, I mean, early 2000s Harry Potter, this was actually like pretty huge. There was a lot of wizard rock performers.
I'm gonna have to take your word on this because I have no recollection. I don't think I ever got into whatever it is you're talking about.
I'm not surprised. I'm really not. I remember hearing about it. I remember, especially in the MuggleNet days, like coming across things like that, but I never leaned into it to the extent of being an actual fan of the music these people were creating. I mean, in high school, I think I was too busy listening to The Killers and Green Day and stuff like that. You know, Wizard Rock wasn't
High school for me was Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. I mean, I did the classics too. Huge Killers fan. Yeah, it's strange looking back and like doing the research of how, despite how connected I was at the time of the Harry Potter fandom and cosplaying and doing costumes and stuff like that, that Wizard Rock didn't really catch on. So to me, while not completely new, it was a little insightful digging into that world. So, with that said, you weren't involved. I wasn't involved. I'm sure there are a lot of people out of our listeners who aren't involved either. So if you're not aware and you're asking yourself, what is Wizard Rock? I'm here to explain it to you. Now, during my research, they also refer to it as, and I don't know how to do this over an audio medium, so I will continue to call it Wizard Rock, but it's referred to as Wrock, WROCK.
Rock.
But I'm just going to say Wizard Rock, okay? Because it's just going to get confusing if I don't. But if you didn't catch on, Wizard Rock is a subgenre of music inspired entirely by Harry Potter or the Harry Potter universe. Artists would write and perform songs from the perspective of characters, events, and themes within the Harry Potter universe. What makes Wizard Rock unique is not just the lyrical inspiration, but the deep sense of community, creativity, and fandom participation that surrounds it. It's definitely music by the fans for the fans. I can't think of any other fandom subculture that kind of had this, I don't want to say musical aspect, but you know, like there hasn't been like Marvel music and things like that. So it's definitely unique in that sense. But I also think, and as we'll kind of get to as we go through this, it's definitely a product of its time too. I mean, you have to think when Harry Potter fandom was coming up in popularity, websites like MySpace and things like that were coinciding with that. And I think that was a big part of it too. So the movement, I guess, began in the early 2000s with the band Harry and the Potters, founded by brothers Paul and Joe DeGeorge in Massachusetts. Around 2002, they're often credited as pioneers of the genre, performing punk-influenced songs.
It is wizard punk rock.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it is, but there are like other bands that came along after that varied in what type of rock it was. But Harry and the Potters was kind of the first performing punk-influenced songs that imagine themselves as different versions of Harry Potter, singing about school life, friendship, and fighting Voldemort, of course. Following their success, other fan bands emerged, each adopting character-inspired names like Draco and the Malfoys, the Remus Lupins, the Whomping Willows,
Oh, I like that.
Tonks and the Aurors, and the Moaning Myrtles. Now, I've heard about the Remus Lupins, the Whomping Willows, and the Moaning Myrtles. I don't think I ever heard about Draco and the Malfoys and Tonks and the Aurors, but, after the popularity, those are some of the more popular ones. But as you can imagine, there are probably hundreds of others. I'm sure with all equally creative names, but that is where a lot of the theming came from, character names and things like that. The explosion of fan creativity turned into a movement that combined music fandom and activism, often connected to Harry Potter fan conventions and the Harry Potter Alliance, which was a nonprofit co-founded by Harry and the Potters to promote social justice through fandom, which, hey, social justice issues tied into something like that. Little did we know from early 2000s to now how much that would mean, especially with the creator of Harry Potter, she who must not be named. But here we are, alas. By the mid to late 2000s, Wizard Rock had become a full-fledged subculture. Bands toured libraries, bookstores, and conventions rather than traditional concert venues, creating a more intimate and often family-friendly performances that felt like magical gatherings. Definitely true in the convention circuit. I mean, I almost 75% sure some of the times I went to Dragon Con around those times, that was kind of like the height of Potter-mania, that some of these performed, I think, at some of the more Harry Potter inspired events that took place during that time. They say in replacement of traditional concert venues, but at the end of the day, I think it's more about realistically, these bands aren't going to fill actual concert venues. So,
or, people at a bar aren't going to listen to Harry Potter songs.
Exactly. Unless you're doing like some sort of Harry Potter related event. But it was definitely, book releases, conventions and things like that. The community thrived online through MySpace, LiveJournal, and a little later, through YouTube. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of it stems from the online culture at the time, too. Especially MySpace and LiveJournal for sure. And then, like I just said, an extent YouTube, with fans sharing homemade music videos, live recordings, and fan art. It was very much a grassroots kind of part of the fandom in relation to the early rise of social media, making Wizard Rock one of the first true digital fandom music movements, which, as far as I'm aware, is the only one, unless there's anything you know about, Trey. I don't know.
I know nothing.
Outside of, I think, Weird Al making the occasionally, like, movie reference or nerdy song, I can't really think of any other.
The only one I can really think of is Yoda.
Oh, from Weird Al? I mean,
he
he's
did the
done
Star Wars Cantina.
Yeah. I mean, he did Jurassic Park. He's done, everything. Yeah, he did a Jurassic Park song.
I missed that one too.
But I just meant, like, you're consider yourself a Trekkie. I mean, I don't know if Star Trek fans, have this sort of things.
I'm sure there are, but I don't know of any.
I think the only thing that I could probably absolutely be sure without being absolutely sure is possibly Star Wars. Like, I can imagine Star Wars rock fan bands being a thing, but outside of that, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, music like this is definitely not one of my areas of expertise.
Attention students, whether you're a witch or wizard looking to discover your potential with an exquisite selection of magical woods and legendary cores, find your perfect wand and let your magical adventure begin at scottingtonwandcrafts.com. Use code TGTBTBPOD as in the good, the bad, the boy pod, and save 10% off at Scottington Wandcrafts, maker of magnificent magical wands. I kind of want to talk about that. Maybe we can talk about it now, just from an opinion standpoint, because I'm very much the same way. I mean, again, going back to what we discussed just a few minutes ago, as being fans of Harry Potter and this fandom, why is that? Is there a reason? Are you just not interested in that subculture? Like, does it not?
I just don't think it's come on my radar. Like, I'm not against it. Like, there's been plenty of instances where, like, there's a song that I'll hear that, like, references something that, I really like. Like, the one I'm thinking of right now is I Miss You by, I want to say Blink-182, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Where they reference Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. The Just Like Jack and Sally or whatever.
Yeah, Just Like Jack and Sally. And I mean, like I definitely enjoy certain genres of music, but it's not a driving force for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of songs that I like honestly come from, like, I heard it in a movie soundtrack or heard it in a TV show soundtrack. Speaking of TV shows, Scrubs.
Yes.
Scrubs, like, during high school, a lot of my music influences came from Scrubs.
Right. It's so many great songs. It's a shame that a lot of it's not, or I say a lot of it, I think like 90% of it is not the same on streaming. I don't know if it's ever been fixed, but I think back when Scrubs was on Netflix, they didn't have the streaming rights to a lot of these songs. So they had to change the songs that were in the original show, which, yeah, absolutely sucks, because Scrubs, with you 100%, fantastic gateway to a lot of great songs. But I think I'm with you 100%. I think it just, despite being in the fandom, it was never on my radar, and it wasn't something that I would actively go and search for.
Yeah.
And I mean, I listened to a fair amount of music in high school and things like that, but honestly, like, I haven't really gotten into music until like the last maybe 3 years or so, that I've like, I have my Spotify playlist and like really going down rabbit holes, finding new and interesting things and stuff like that, I've kind of had like a musical reawakening, so to speak. But yeah, I think it's the same, for me, just not being in on my radar and not actively looking for it. Yeah. So, with that said, like I said, it's, despite being called Wizard Rock, it's not just rock music. Just to note, the Moaning Myrtles were more of like an indie pop kind of style. The Whomping Willows was more acoustic folk music, with Harry and the Potter, which is where this is coined from, being more punk, garage rock, your traditional rock band. And then Ministry of Magic and the Parselmouths were two additional
one
ones.
band or two bands?
Two bands. They were both electric pop and more experimental, which never really got into all of that.
Yeah, I've just been sitting here trying to think of like what would my Harry Potter band name be.
Well, save it because that was
Okay.
going to be, I think, my wrap up question is. So think about it. I thought about the question. I have not thought about my band name, so we're going to be on equal ground. I will give you that. So I did, and this was a little difficult because when you have something like this, we kind of talked about it with the A Very Potter musical, as far as like the financial aspect of something like this.
Yeah, they won't
so
be able to make a dime.
pretty much. But I did try to do some research. This was incredibly difficult because something like this, there's not really going to be a lot of data to track this from a financial standpoint. But I did find, some of it interesting. And I think it, again, coincides with the MySpace live journal era of early days of internet and technology too. People being able to burn CDs with a home computer.
Or add their song to their MySpace page.
Exactly. Versus, early days of streaming was MySpace and iTunes and stuff like that, where all of this stuff was more accessible and you didn't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on new technology to do this. So, I was still intrigued just from the, especially if you're touring and things like that. I mean, obviously you have the legal ramifications of copyright infringement and things like that. However, with that said, money was made through local performances with physical CD sales and things like that, as well as early digital downloads through websites like Bandcamp, which Napster, most of that illegal. I do have to say, I don't know how you feel like Metallica, but
I love Metallica.
I kind of think they were a little pissy through the whole Napster thing.
I mean, a lot of people were.
Yeah. Merchandising, branding, things like that. A lot of these wizard rock bands collaborated with fan artists for exclusive designs, keeping revenue circulating within the fan community, bundling sales, through CDs, t-shirts, sticker packs, things like that, kind of a do-it-yourself sort of, mainly with what I would probably be most familiar with would be more large-scale fandom events like LeakyCon. Supposedly, there was a Wrock stock, which WROCK stock, as in, I guess, wizarding Woodstock, right?
That could be cool. Sounds like a cool experience.
I'm kind of like picturing it in my head, and I'm sure it would be interesting. And then, ticket prices from the actual conventions and stuff like that themselves, the artists getting booked and, would see some sort of return on that. But majority of it would be, as the movement matured, would come from a more crowdfunding aspect. Artists like Harry and the Potters, the Whomping Willows, had successfully used Kickstarter or Patreon to fund recording projects.
OnlyFans.
You say that as a joke, but I don't have OnlyFans, but
I don't joke about OnlyFans.
If
anything I say about OnlyFans, I'm 100% serious.
If you're listening, OnlyFans, reach out to us for sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah.
We'd, I'm sure, be happy to support you.
We can be the bad boy.
I don't want to participate. I just want to say that I don't want to put myself out there. I'm not that comfortable with myself. But a lot of the financial aspect relied on the fandom crowdfunding and things like that. With that said, though, I would imagine, there's no concrete numbers. I don't think we're talking a lucrative multi-million-dollar, subgenre of revenue, generating opportunities within Wizarding Rock, but it sounds like a lot of at least the bigger names, Harry and the Potters and the Whomping Willows, were able to successfully remain relevant within that subgenre and, have their success or continue to do so. I don't really know. Outside of learning more about the genre itself, being somewhat intrigued by the financial side, which, again, hard to decipher, not really much public information. My third question to this, and I just think back on a lot of the early, I will call them like MySpace bands, because there were a lot of bands that became popular because of MySpace and were very popular within the MySpace community and not really but not like expanding beyond that, my third follow-up was the potential controversies.
Well, the original of MySpace
within the Wizard Rock community. So I'm going to lead into that, and I will try not to name names because legally I don't want to be liable for anything, but this would be coming through, public research. So we'll leave it at that. And I will try to navigate through this without opening the doors into a specific band. So naturally, pre-Me Too movement and the early days of the internet, while Wizard Rock is largely known for its creativity, inclusivity, and fan-driven positivity, it hasn't been entirely free of controversy. The biggest and most recent controversy in Wizard Rock stems from the wider fandom struggle to reconcile its love for Harry Potter with She Who Must Not Be Named. This is, I think, relevant across the board in podcasts as well. I mean, we talked about it in our second episode, right? And we've brought it up and let our opinions be known that as much as we love or enjoy the fandom, we do acknowledge the unfortunate turn and try to navigate around that while being able to enjoy the things that we enjoy. And that goes for the Wizard Rock fandom as well, particularly those from the LGBTQ plus and queer affirming backgrounds have publicly denounced She Who Must Not Be Named's remarks, reaffirming that their music celebrates inclusion and acceptance. This goes back to with Harry and the Potters and their original what's the word? Nonprofit or whatever they were doing. Charity, something like that. Charity's not the right word, but I'll have to scroll up on my notes, but I don't want to lose my place. But with as serious as a lot of her remarks, She Who Must Not Be Named, have been, some bands have even removed Harry Potter references from their promotional materials or shifted to a post-Potter theme, focusing more on the fan community itself rather than the actual source material. Like many fandom spaces, I guess you could say, not just the Wizard Rock community, there have also been allegations of misconduct involving a few individual artists around 2019, 2020. Several bands and performers were accused of inappropriate behavior, harassment, or abuse within fan and convention spaces. I think this is something that continues definitely through this day, especially in the convention circuit. It is by no means uncommon. I think it's getting better, but it's kind of one of those, like, why can't people just be good? At the end of the day, think before you say it. Keep your hands to yourself. It's baffling, but continues to happen back then, happens within every fan community. This is by no means just a Harry Potter or Wizard Rock problem, but alas, it affects it just as equally. The community responded with public accountability statements, boycotts, and creation of a safer space guidelines for future events. Many longtime organizers push for clearer conduct policies at shows and conventions, helping professionalize what had once been an informal grassroots scene. While painful, this reckoning mirrored what happened in many creative fandoms around the time, an important step toward making the space safer for younger fans and emphasizing consent, respect, and inclusion, which we all kind of know. A lot of that came to head during the Me Too movement, and continues to be a heated topic of discussion. A number of events and fan conventions like Leaky Kong, I keep saying Leaky Kong, like Donkey Kong, Leaky Con,
leaky dong.
Watch it, Trey. You're going to get canceled. Have released statements of solidarity with trans and non-binary fans while continuing to showcase Wizard Rock as a fan-created, non-author-owned expression. And then the biggest one, which we briefly touched on, is the ever problematic copyright and intellectual property tensions from that. Although Harry Potter's publisher and Warner Bros. Have largely tolerated Wizard Rock, there have been occasional tensions around intellectual property rights. Technically, songs that use character names, settings, or direct story elements are derivative works of the copyrighted material. However, because Wizard Rock is non-commercial and fan-driven, most rights holders have chosen to ignore it or quietly allow it to continue. A few bands have expressed concerns that commercial distribution, like Spotify monetization, could eventually draw legal attention. Which, naturally, if they were to put their songs on Spotify, it definitely gets a little iffy. I know the person that I spoke about earlier, who I came across and listened to a few of his songs, he hosted everything directly on his website. And I think this was in or around like when YouTube was becoming a thing. So I distinctly remember going directly to his website to listen to this versus going to something like YouTube, even though the early days of YouTube were equally a free-for-all before YouTube. West. Yes, very much so. Before YouTube became the YouTube it is to today.
Which is garbage.
It really is. I every day I hate it more and more.
I have to watch one more Trump Republican commercial on YouTube. I'm going to stop using it altogether. I swear to God. Running a podcast can be expensive, $35 a month to be exact, but we're not going to ask you, our listeners, to front the cost. Instead, consider making a small donation to a charity we hold dear to our hearts, the Trevor Project, a leading suicide prevention, crisis, and intervention nonprofit organization for LGBTQ plus young people. Bravery, intelligence, hard work, and ambition. With these values, we can unite and change the world. Let's make magic happen today.
Knock on wood. I mean, now that my phone is listening to us talk about this, I'll probably be getting them. But I don't get, it's not the political advertisements. It's the constant request for surveys, like the YouTube survey, or asking me to sign up to YouTube Premium.
Yeah, that. No, I'm talking, I get like straight up just like falsely advertised propaganda.
Yeah, well,
which makes me just want to not use YouTube altogether.
And this is a tough conversation because Spotify is the same.
Yeah.
And we admittedly are hosted through Spotify. But I mean, you can point fingers at everything. Amazon, it's a tough conversation, and we'll have to save that for another day. And then, like any fandom, there's not one fandom that I can think of that doesn't have this. Gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Another subtle controversy within the community is who gets to define Wizard Rock. Some early fans and artists have been accused of gatekeeping. No surprise there. Insisting that true Wizard Rock must directly relate to Harry Potter canon, while newer artists explore broader magical or fandom fusion themes. Others argue the opposite, that Wizard Rock should evolve beyond Hogwarts and embrace the inclusive, fan-driven creativity that started it all. These debates sometimes play out on pretty much any social media you can think of, especially as the fandom further diversifies and new generations join who didn't grow up during the early MySpace era heyday. Wizard Rock has had a lasting influence on both fandom and independent music. It helped pave the way for fan-driven musical subgenres and proved that communities could form around shared storytelling worlds. And even today, festivals like Rockstock and online revival projects keep the spirit alive. For many fans, Wizard Rock represents the power of fandom to turn imagination into collaboration and music into magic.
Magic.
And that is all I got for Wizard Rock. So, as we wrap up this episode, Trey, back to your earlier question. If you could name or start up your own wizarding rock band, what would the name of your band be?
So I'm stuck on two different options. One is the Mad-Eye Moody's.
Nice. Okay.
Or just Animagus.
Just Animagus.
Not the Animaguses, just Animagus.
Okay. I think Mad-Eye and the Moody's, if it's not already taken.
Not Mad-Eye and the Moody's, the Mad-Eye Moody's.
Oh, the Mad-Eye Moody's. I think that would be fitting for like the early days. Because that's what it seems like a lot of the bigger ones in the heyday. That was like their theming. So I feel like I would lean more towards that one from like an OG era, like a startup, you know?
Yeah.
Though I do like Animagus. And I think that one, I mean, we know it's Harry Potter related, but I think that one you could, like, that sounds like a German rock band, like, or like a Euro, like, I could hear that name and disconnect it from Harry Potter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Me, as we were kind of talking about this, I think I would go, despite being wizard rock, that being the genre of music, I think I would go in the opposite direction from a naming standpoint. And I would choose the name of Mr. Dursley's, well, it's not his business, but where he works, which is Grunnings.
Grunnings would be good.
I feel like that sounds like a good rock band name, kind of in the extent of Animagus, where I feel like it would still have enough separation to, I guess, if you wanted to rebrand yourself.
Be a deep cut.
20 years from now, being a fan of Harry Potter is extremely controversial. You still want to play music? It would be an easy shift, is what I'm saying. So that would be me. I think I would go with Grunnings, named after Vernon Dursley's place of employment.
What was Aunt Marge's dog name?
Wasn't it like Ripper or something like that?
That'd be a good band name too.
That would be a good one. Let's see. Aunt Marge Bulldog. Right? That's what she had, a bulldog. Aunt Marge's Bulldog. Yeah, Ripper. Yeah, that would be a good
Aunt
one.
Marge's Bulldog would be a good band name too.
Yeah. I always remember the line in the movie, but it's in the book too, when it's in the first book when Vernon's opening the letters and he says Aunt Marge is ill, ate a funny whelk. Something like that. Ate a funny whelk would be another good one.
A good one.
I like the more obscure.
Yeah.
I feel like if you go with like Luna and the Love Goods or something like that, it's fine, but I definitely like looking for something that's a little deeper into the fandom.
Only real fans will get it.
Exactly. We immediately start gatekeeping just by the name of our band. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It was a topic that I wasn't super familiar about. I do want to go back, I think, and listen to some of the songs and
I'll have to share some of them on our Instagram.
Yeah, maybe maybe that could be a side project, is look up a few and or go down the rabbit hole and maybe we'll post some of our like top 5 wizard rock songs or something like that. And then I don't know, maybe I'll make album covers for our potential band.
There you go.
That'd be a good Instagram post. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I have. I hope, you learned something new. Yeah.
I did. I have some bands I'm going to start looking up. Listen to something while I'm at work.
The Good, the Bad, and the Boy is an independently produced podcast. Stock media, wizard theme music provided by Adam Monroe at Pond 5.
Music, a magic beyond all we do here.
Voiceovers provided by artists Sarah Jackson and Debbie Masters. Links to their creative works can be found in our podcast channel and episode descriptions.
Hearing voices no one else can hear isn't a good sign, even in the wizarding world.
You can rate and review us on your preferred podcast platform, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Good, the Bad, and the Boy podcast, all one word. Questions, suggestions, feedback, and howlers can be sent to us directly at The Good, the Bad, and the Boy at gmail.com. You're a wizard, Harry.
A what?
A wizard.